Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Teresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome. So excited to have today with us Leta Trisdale and Amanda Trisdale. They are a mother and daughter powerhouse, I tell you. Leta was diagnosed with ASD at 3, and she started a dance studio at 12. So I'm going to let them tell you all about what they do and why they do it. And here they are, Leta and Amanda.
Thanks so much for having us on today, Teresa.
You are most welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to them. I must. So thank you. So tell me, Leta, what leads a 12-year-old to start a dance studio?
Some adults are really mean and stupid. And I was annoyed. And 12. And annoyed.
So just a lot of frustration?
Yes.
Yeah. And what was so frustrating? What led to what got you so frustrated?
Mostly that they usually tried to tell me what autism was. And for some reason went to Google a lot.
Wow.
Also, plus, somehow everything about me led back to the autism, and I don't know how. Like the bad right hip, caused by the autism, because Dr. Google said autism causes bad right hips.
Oh my.
What?
Dr. Google's about as good as Dr. WebMD.
Right.
Usually it goes back to everything that's caused by cancer, so at least it didn't go cancer was the autism.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So let's try to clear some of that up. Because I think listening to one of your podcasts, one of the episodes, somebody said that if you allowed her to be autistic, there was like things would not work out well for her in essence. And I thought, how do you allow somebody to be autistic or disallow autism?
I think there's a really bad thing out there. And I mean, it started in the probably even before the 80s. Like when I was a kid, it was hide your autism because people can't know about this deficit about you. And I think a lot of people that she's worked with were like, I love her so much. I don't want her to have these issues that she can't go past this. I want her to be better than her autism. And it's like, you do understand autism is who she is. And they're like, but that creates things she can't do. And we don't want her thinking about the can't. And I'm like, true, but those are still going to be there. No matter what you want, the autism doesn't just go bye-bye.
Those people creeped out severely.
And they saw the autism as a deficit versus, okay, if we just tweak ever so slightly what we're doing, how we're teaching, how we're working, we can get the same thing. Absolutely. We just have to. And it's really funny because it's in the art world. You'd think creativity runs rampant in the art world, but they got very black and white when they were teaching.
Oh my goodness. And to me, autism is a label. It's a diagnosis which just says, okay, you may or may not have these, you may or may not present with these traits, these behavior, just certain things about you, the social deficits, or because not everybody, they learning as I go through life. And I heard somebody say this, you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Wow. It doesn't present the same in every person. So let's find out, okay, like you said, how do we teach Leta how to do things? It's not that she can't do it, but how do we teach her? How do we find out how she learns? Do you agree with that, Leta?
Yeah.
And some of it's not even just the how she learns, but autism being a spectrum, the thing I've been starting to tell people for the last couple of years is it's like cancer. We're going to treat breast cancer different than we're going to treat pancreatic cancer. but they're the same issue at the very basic. But like with autistic kids, and I think a lot of parents coming in from the neurotypical world don't understand this, there are physical limitations too. Like Leta has an eye tracking issue. So when you're trying to teach her how to spot, she's getting dizzy trying to do it the way you're doing it. And they're like, well, why don't we just teach her to not be so lazy and spot the way I want her to? And I'm like,
yes,
well, because
and I wish I could teach you to not be stupid, but I can't. Also, how do you think a freaking orangutan climbs trees if you're saying its freaking muscles in its hands are weak? How could it climb and live in trees if its hand muscles were weak?
there's
It lives in trees. What do you mean it can't climb?
also learn autistic kids will call you stupid when you are being stupid and going against facts.
Also, how could a monkey climb if a monkey's fingers are weak? How could it climb? It lives in a tree.
Exactly. And I try to explain that to people. It's not that they're, the filter is just not there. They're just being very real. And don't be offended, people. She is just expressing herself, and we all have a right to express ourselves.
But a lot of it was that sort of stuff. It was she had an injury when she was 11 months old where her hip popped out of joint. The prevailing best wisdom of the doctors was, let's just see if it goes back in. It did not go back in, so it healed. And a lot of the dance teachers would be like, well, we can just work it so that it goes back to being a ball joint. And I'm like, well,
it's been freaking not a ball joint since 11 months. What do you mean?
Because of how it healed, it is partially out by like a quarter. It is not a full ball joint. And they're like, well, we need to get her.
It's been this way for 14 years of my life. An 11-month-year-old doomed me. So, I don't think it's changing anytime soon.
But a lot of that sort of stuff, because they're like, well, if you don't force her to overcome this limitation, and I'm like,
limitate what?
The limitation's going to be there whether you want it there or not. I wish it wasn't there.
I mean, I just deal with it and live my life and deal with it and go on with my life.
And they were getting a little annoyed. The older she was getting, the more snarky she was getting, which I understand.
Yeah. She is spicy, yes, she is. Yeah. So the thing is, though, we all have some kind of thing. Like I remember my supervisor when I worked at a school in a juvenile justice program. He said we all have some. There's all something. Like he has to wear glasses to compensate for his vision. People do different things to compensate, and because we've been doing it for so long, we don't even realize that we're doing it. Right? Like we automatically compensate for certain things. So she can also learn to compensate, based on her environment and the encouragement that she receives and the accommodations if needed.
And I think what was stopping a lot of the dance teachers was they were seeing that compensating as telling her she couldn't do something. And I'm like, that's not telling her she can't. That's fixing it where she can. And like you said, the glasses, and they're like, well, but that's different because I can't control whether or not I have glasses. And I'm like, fun fact.
But then she can't control the whole hip situation.
And she can't control the autism. And it's the simple things with the autism. And I mean, I've grown up in the community, so a lot of the stuff I just take as normal. Parents coming in from outside the community are like, what are you talking about? Like she had silent seizures when she was younger, and dance teachers would come out, and therapists, which really annoyed me on the therapist side a little bit more, and go, she wasn't listening to me today. And I'm like, what did she do? And they would describe the silent seizure, and I'd be like, it wasn't that she was meaning to not listen to you. She wasn't meaning to be disrespectful. She was having a seizure. Oh, she wasn't on the ground. That's called a grand mal. We'll put a pin in that and circle back around. And then they're like, well, how do we help her not have seizures? As much as I would love to do that, and the doctors would love to do that.
And I would love to do that.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just glad I no longer have them.
Or like with the autoprocessory issue, which we both have, teachers would be like, well, that's a limitation. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've had it for 44 years. Thanks for telling me.
It's not my fault.
And they'd be like, well, you can't have it because you're a fully functioning adult.
Again, you've learned to compensate. You've learned to put things in place. So, and you've been in politics for a long time, you know?
Yeah, I've been in politics
Before I was born.
since before she was born. I was doing TRICARE red tape for multiple congressional offices, helping families with kids like her get the autistic services they need. And then she came along and I'm like, well, good news. I know the red tape.
Right. You were getting ready for all, for all the things that you needed to know. So, and the reason I said that is it has not prevented you from advocating from living the life that you chose. Then why should it prevent Leta?
There's still a huge thought process out there by a lot of people that autism, and you add that she has severe dyslexia on top of it, people are like, well, then you must be stupid, or we just need to get over it. She had dance teachers. There's a lot of reading in dance, which people don't understand. Like ballet studios still have like written tests. Some studios you have to pass in order to go on to show like what a plie is. And you have to she was in classes where they're like, well, you have to read this card and then do the step on the card. And they're like, well, she must be dumb because she can't read. And I'm like, yeah, let me introduce you to a whole bunch of people I know who are severely dyslexic.
Oh, wait, they also said if I couldn't say the word out loud, even though I had some speech impediments, that I could not do the step. Well, perfectly doing the step. I don't see how my skills in English and my skills in movement are the same thing.
But
it
leads back to there is so much misinformation out there about what autism is.
And how the brain works.
Yeah. And what can we do to help that? Because, I get that, the Caribbean islands, they don't know much because it's not widely, people don't see autistic people. And I tell you sadly, I shouldn't say that. It has changed. There's more awareness now. However, there's not as much because, you're looked at as being different, as being, just so many things. Like growing up, there was a young man who didn't talk. He was nonvocal and he was a little different. Now, I had no idea. Like, it was only when I started to study to be a behavior analyst and got into the field that I was like, oh my gosh, he was autistic. We didn't know these things back then, in the 70s. We had no idea. Now there's more awareness, but I think sometimes too, some of that old way of thinking kind of creeps in. Like, what's wrong with him? Why don't you fix him? And, it's pervasive in this environment.
It also starts with how we deal with the parents. Because I know when she was diagnosed, a lot of people were bringing me all the books from the parenting side.
To warn the child you shall never have, even though that thing is right there and ever loving, alive, and breathing, and eating. And apparently that thing ain't alive, so whoop.
That was one of the very popular books back then, was How to Warn Your Child You Will Never Have.
Don't
for
forget the
parents who
grandchild
had,
one.
And How to Warn the Grandchild. And I'm like, honestly, even if you have a neurotypical child, they are not going to turn out the way you want.
Exactly.
But I think and it's not like autism is new. ADHD and I'm going to lump it in with ADD because honestly, it's ADD. With everyone who's like, oh no, they're different. I'm like, yeah, we changed that on you guys.
It's the same thing.
But you look at Sir Crichton's papers on it, and they're dated pre-U.S. Constitution. So, guys, this isn't a new thing.
I mean,
the first use of autism in papers, granted, it was as a form of schizophrenia, which we all can say it's not. You're looking at autism the coining of autism, 1907, 1908, out of Germany. Granted, a lot of the good papers should probably have asterisks of bad researchers because they all came out of 1930s Germany. But during that time, you see autism go from that one diagnosis to that spectrum of every white man, PhD, wanted a autism thing named after him.
Oh, and don't forget they went, let's base this off of 18 and 20-year-olds that are also freaking
Classic autism,
why.
you know, is off 18 and 19, 20-year-old white males in Iowa.
Yeah.
But I think
Iowa.
that
Freaking Iowa.
part of the issue is certain groups wanted to bring it to the forefront, but how they brought it to the forefront made it sound weird and terrible.
Bad.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and like you said, because it's based on how white males present with autism, a lot of females get diagnosed late or misdiagnosed, or even some males who present, you know, they're more sociable, they have those more female traits, they get, you know, diagnosed late or misdiagnosed, undiagnosed. And it's just really tragic. So what are we changing?
I think we need to also teach doctors more, because I know here in America, she's had doctors that are like, I've never had an autistic patient, and I'll deal with them for a little bit as her general prac and go, well, have you looked in a mirror lately? Because you may not have had an autistic patient.
Right.
We were lucky. The doctor who diagnosed her, he was autistic. His son was autistic in my age. So he's like, so she's autistic, sets it aside and goes, now you can have your meltdown on everything you know is coming up that I'm going to force you to do on physical tests for the next year, because there are a lot of physical issues that can come with autism. And then after you realize I just killed your schedule for the next year, you can be thrilled that she's autistic, so she's normal. And I'm looking at him going, Frank, I don't think you understand. We think it's normal. But I think there is that parents, especially from coming in outside the community, even if they find out later, oh, I was autistic, not growing up in the community, they're seeing it as
the plague.
She's actually had kids her age claim that autism's the plague.
That has happened. That was weird. That has happened. That was weird. I am still breathing. I don't think it's the plague. I'm not dead.
I think there's a need to listen to a lot of the adults who came up through the therapies and hear what we came up through so that we don't repeat it with these kids. I think there's a need to also listen to us on what's important, because I think sometimes if you're from outside the community, you're seeing all the deficits. And there were times I sat her therapist down and went, I see what you're saying she needs to do, but your problem is you're not looking at this one thing over here. And without doing this one thing here, the rest of this stuff you want to do is not following. And they're like, oh, how'd you see that? And I didn't. And I'm like, because I'm autistic too. It was things like she had, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
She had a speech therapist who was like, we absolutely need to work on how her voice is. It's too high pitched. And I'm like, except for, and bear with me, we can't understand a word she says right now. You haven't taught her enunciation. Right. If we work on the enunciation, we can work. Who cares what her voice sounds like?
Apparently she did. Also, she said Virginia the wrong way. Why was she trying to say Virginia and try to say in Spanish? What? I don't think the high pitched thing is important here. The more important thing is she kept calling me by my middle name and never by my first name, and that was weird.
Her middle name's Virginia. But once we kind of figured out, oh, let's work on this, she's like, oh, I didn't think that through. And I'm like,
yeah.
Stop calling me by my middle name.
The thing I tell people all the time, when I work with behavior technicians or other BCBAs or just other people who are helping and working with and doing all of that, parents are the experts regarding their children. They know them better than we ever will. So we partner together to make this happen. Otherwise, you'll be frustrated because the parent has figured out so much. And you just come in here and expect, oh, no, because, I've got this title that I'm going to make it work. And it's really important to, like I said, to partner with instead of trying to act like, or acting like, well, we know better because we went to school for whatever it is.
And I think a lot of the parents coming into the community, getting a newly diagnosed child, they are so overwhelmed by that diagnosis. They just automatically give that power over to the therapist going, you know my child better than I do. And then they're like, so how did you get Leta? And I'm like, oh, the number of times I called a therapist stupid to their face. There was one therapist she was working with who's like, she has a issue. It was a speech therapist that was like, she does not like pizza. And I'm like, I am perfectly fine that she has a sensory issue around pizza, not a necessity in life.
Really, the rest of America ain't fine with that.
And so the therapist was like trying to force feed her until she threw up because she had been trained in the 70s and 80s and still using our old tech styles from back then.
Also, plus, she would grab my tongue with her bare hands.
We did that back. That's how they taught me
disgusting.
Speech.
Oh my goodness.
It's actually how I was taught speech.
She would also put her fingers down my throat, which would also make me automatically throw up.
Which was how we did therapies back when I was going through therapies, or the stupid tongue depressor in your mouth to hold your tongue while you were talking. But she finally, I kept calling her stupid. I thought calling her stupid would be a key. I thought she was stupid. And she's like, are you trying to insinuate you think I'm stupid? I'm like, no, I called you an idiot. I'm not insinuating a dang thing.
English
but I think all the other parents in there were like, well, we did think what she was doing was weird, but we didn't feel like we had the right to say. And I'm like, you're the parent.
Yes, and you're probably also going to ruin your relationship with your child because your child's probably no longer going to speak to you.
And I think a lot of parents from us older autistic kids who went through all these therapies, that they have gotten better, thank God.
Yes.
But
when we got better-ish.
All of our parents say the same thing. We didn't know any better. We did not know that physical force was a bad thing.
What do you mean? Would you like it if it was happening to you?
And I'm like,
it is legally a bad thing.
I've talked to parents from my generation, like, or older than me, and they're like, well, we didn't know that, like, bruising you during speech therapy, holding your mouth to that effect, they said that was right. I'm like,
I'm sorry.
At some point, you as parent have to step in and go, I feel this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of parents coming into the community, they are so overwhelmed. They don't know you have that right. You can even say, look, this is relationship's not working for us. We're going to go find another therapist.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's never, Pat McGreevy said this, it's not the modality that you're using, it's the therapist that you have, because every therapist may be, you know, they're going to do things a little differently, you know. And I think too, you know, back to the way things were done, and then looking at current studies that show children with, you know, who have been diagnosed with additional needs, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to be sexually abused than the rest of the population. And I think it's because they were forced into doing things. So then now when somebody forces them into doing things, it's normal for them. It's become normalized. And it's just like just another person doing something. And I think that is tragic.
I had that discussion with a few of her dance teachers going, the way you are doing this is actually helping the groomer that's going to come after you. And they're like, no, we just want them to do what we're saying without ever asking.
Maybe you could just not touch my chest or my private.
Autistic kids especially.
Also, please don't my stomach. That's just weird.
Within dance, teachers will come up and grab you in the no-no zones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, they can't tell me no. And I'm like, if they can't tell you, who's a trusted adult, no, how are they supposed to tell the next person? Oh, they're supposed to know the difference. Not if you've been training them since 3, 4, 5, exactly. That you have no physical boundaries. She had some therapists who did the same thing. And I'm like, and the parents are like, well, they told us it was okay. And I'm like, if you're
legally not okay. What do you mean? At some point as a parent, you no longer have an excuse. Like, I don't care if this is overwhelming to you. If it's legally not okay and you say that you would not like it if it happened to you, at some point, it's not an excuse that, oh, I'm overwhelmed because they're autistic. No, it's no longer an excuse. At some point, it's just no longer a beloved excuse.
I agree.
Okay, she's heard me say that a few times off camera.
Yeah.
And she agrees.
Yeah.
But You do. You talk to these parents and they're coming into something they don't know, which is, and we have to give them the tools. We have to give them, and I understand the parents of level 3 and level 2 ASD kids who are out on social media going, you don't understand my traumas. You don't understand this.
What about the kids'
And then,
traumas?
She's diagnosed level 3, just in case anyone's wondering. She is level 3 ASD.
Okay.
She's nonverbal, completely non-expressive, non-receptive verbal.
That's like forever ago.
I think,
just didn't give a damn about anyone that far.
I think there's a lot to be said that these parents are so overwhelmed and grieving something that shouldn't be grieving, but we've got to show them you can. I'm not saying every kid's going to wind up like Leta, but you can come up with a lifestyle that works for you, and you are the parent, but you got to parent.
Yes, yes. One of my favorite lines is imagine the possibilities, because when you do, then you're so open to learning and so open to trying things that your child can overcome so much more. Because we know with the Pygmalion effect, what we expect, we get. So if you expect, and there's so many studies that bear that out, where children were discharged from programs and then later ended up, some were working, some were in, college or university, and others being in homes being cared for because the parents kept focusing on the diagnosis. And because somebody said, because of this diagnosis, she will never, he will never, this will not, and that will not. And they bought into that instead of saying, yes, you have a diagnosis. However, it doesn't limit you, right? We may have to do things a little differently, but that doesn't mean that you won't or can't.
Well, and we've seen it within the studio is because we have such small class sizes, and I have a dance studio version of the IEP that I have kicked back to parents because they're like, they have speech issues. And I'm like, hi, I don't think you understand. Speech issues is a little bit of a spectrum. What exactly were they diagnosed with? And then they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, could you just go ask their SLP, come back to me, tell me what it is. And then I'll go to the dance teachers and go, this is what they were diagnosed with. The kids are blooming in dance because we're taking that diagnosis and making it work in dance. It's like, oh, well, they just can't understand grammar right now. So you're going to have to finagle how you speak.
It's 5. What do you think? It's 5. What do you mean? Oh, they can't understand grammar now. That is a problem. It's 5. It is literally 5. It's barely potty trained. 5. It's 5 and not even potty trained.
We have had to explain to parents that a lot
5.
of these...
It is a child. It is okay. What do you think? A newborn puppy automatically walks? Like newborn giraffe?
A lot of these diagnoses are based off of, and you know it from it, 18, 19-year-old guys. And parents are like, my kid didn't do well on this test. And I'm like,
sorry, have you not seen a newborn puppy? Do you think that has any ability to live?
And it's like, you got to, part of it is, yes, please tell me they have a grammar problem so that I'm reworking our stuff. And they're like,
it would be an actual grammar problem, and done will not be 5.
Well, but, or we've had parents who are like, this one annoys my dance teachers, and I will back them on this one. Parents will leave the AAC in the car and then come to class, and the teacher has tried the entire time to talk to a new kid, and they go up to the parent and they're like, I'm not getting through. Can you explain some more about their diagnoses? And they're like, oh, well, they use an AAC to communicate.
So they left their mouth in the car, their voice. They literally left their voice, the child's voice, in the car and expected them to communicate.
The number of times, the moment the parent leaves the studio, the dance teacher is like off on that going, exactly how was I supposed to speak if they didn't have the voice? Did you not watch Little Mermaid? Do we need to make Little Mermaid a mandatory thing for parents?
Plus, I don't know if you know this, but that child does not know Psy, and I am not fully understanding those things. So can you bring the AAC?
Right,
and
exactly.
We've had parents that afterwards we've seen them signing with her kid and
signs that you should not do towards
Okay.
a child because the child doesn't understand what it is. But I
You know what,
barely
guys? We have like 30 seconds. We've been going so long that I lost track of time. Anything you want to say before we close?
No, sorry for taking so much of your time today,
Oh,
Teresa.
no, that's fine. So you can find the Leta Trisdale on
Leta Trisdale
on YouTube.
on
and
YouTube
Instagram.
And Instagram. And, the podcast is wherever you listen to your podcast.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Oh, my goodness. Okay.